And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Master of Ceremonies for today's grand opening ceremony.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the 43rd Annual Conference of the National Association for Bilingual Education. Woo! My name is Martha Barnett. I am co-host of A Way with Words. Thank you. Thank you. We are a national radio show that's all about words and how we use them, and we celebrate linguistic diversity. And as I said, we're a national show, but we're based right here in San Diego. So we want to give a warm welcome to those of you who came here from back east. How many of you did? Well, congratulations, and again, that's a warm welcome in every sense of the word. Well, three of my favorite words are without further ado. So please stand for the presentation of colors by the Sweetwater High School Marine Corps JROTC Color Guard. Please welcome accomplished tenor and music educator Alex Alfaro, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and then sing our national anthem.
Please place your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? I didn't want to mix it up in front of you, huh?
Great. Please retire the colors. Please be seated. And how about another round of applause for Alex? That was fantastic. Bravo. And now to help welcome you to sunny San Diego is Dr. Randolph E. Ward, San Diego County Superintendent of Schools, followed by Francisca Sanchez, President of the California Association for Bilingual Education.
So I bring greetings to this very sunny place. When I woke up this morning, I had no choice. The sun was in my eyes. I took a breath, and the air was clean. I opened the door, and the air was warm. Welcome to the finest city in this world, San Diego. So I'm here just to bring you a welcome from the County Board of Education, from the County Office of Education, from 500,000 students who are educated in San Diego County, from 42 school districts, our largest being San Diego Unified, from 26,000 teachers who are housed in 735 facilities. We welcome you, and we want you to continue the great work that you're doing to prepare our children for this new world we're in the 21st century and in our global economy. Welcome.
Good morning. I'd like to add my welcome to that of Dr. Ward, and on behalf of the Board of Directors of the California Association for Bilingual Education, and on behalf of our membership, I have the privilege of welcoming NABE 2014 to our home state of California. As you know, CABE is one of NABE's affiliates. We're part of the same family. And at CABE, we know how important families are. We know that families are critical to our individual accomplishments, to the success of the kids we serve, and to the future of our struggle for linguistic and cultural survival in many of our communities. At CABE, we know about this. We know that the struggle goes on and that our students are depending on us to lead the way to victory. And that's why, as CABE president, I feel privileged to have the opportunity to welcome you into our space, which indeed is a wonderful space. As educators, as parents, as community members, CABE members know the work that has to be done, and we've remained faithful to that work, even in the face of huge challenges and sometimes controversies, because we know that what we do matters, and what we do matters as much to the children's strength of spirit as it does to their knowledge of academics, and we can't forget that. As an organization, we're committed to a vision of hope and possibility. We recognize that our children need big dreams, big possibilities, and that it's our responsibility to provide the necessary conditions for our children's success in this world of big dreams and big opportunities, where they don't have to choose between family and school, between English and their heritage languages, where they can have both and more. And we can't forget one simple truth that joins CABE and NABE in a common journey. We live in a multilingual world where bilingualism and biliteracy are the essential tools that allow us to navigate beyond the known, that give us the power to sail beyond our horizons to new worlds. This is a world where if we do the right thing, and if we do the thing right, our children too can grow strong and powerful and still remain connected to their families and their communities. We know this in our hearts because our own journeys are journeys paved with words and shaped by bilingualism and biliteracy. We are the living proof that language matters in the personal and the public spheres, and that it's surely possible to create environments where our children don't have to lose themselves in order to gain the right to speak and read and write and know and create, where the connections between language, literacy, and knowledge of the world are valued and nurtured, where our children can find their bilingual voices, see clearly their bicultural images, and tell their heart stories and songs with no equivocation. CABE and NABE together can help create the world that our children deserve. To paraphrase Goethe, the time is now for us to be bold, to believe that we can do what's necessary and what's right, to use all the genius power that we have individually and collectively, to join hands and to step forward. So let's show our children, by our own example, that they have the power to make a difference in their own lives. After all, to paraphrase the words of the late Chicano poet and journalist Tony Burciaga, we have been born into a bicultural and bilingual world. We have experienced the changed meanings and power, the ironies in the experience of living within, between, and sometimes outside of two cultures, the damnation and the salvation, the celebration of it all. I'm looking forward to that celebration, a celebration that begins right now as NABE 2014 kicks off its conference. Let's enjoy the celebration, and let's make sure that we carry that celebration with us throughout this year as we work on behalf of language minority children and youth across this country. Thank you.
And now let's show our appreciation for the distinguished executive director of NABE, Dr. Santiago Wood.
Muy buenos días. No le puedo oír. Muy buenos días. ¿Pueden decir sí se puede? ¿Sí se puede? ¿Sí se puede? Entonces levántense, por favor. Would you please stand up? Everyone stand up. Let's take a stretch break. Why don't you just put your hand, extend your hand on your fellow companion. Just extend your hand. That's what we wanted. That's what we wanted. Now, I want you to say, I am NABE. Yo soy NABE. I am NABE. Yo soy NABE. NABE is composed. Muchas gracias. Entonces, toma asiento. You may be seated. Thank you. Give yourselves a big hand. This amazing intellectual sea of power, creativity, knowledge, bilingualism, multiculturalism, biliteracy. You are that shining light. You are that tower. You are that global world. You are part of our 7 billion world community that speaks over 7,000 languages, represented by 225 recognized nations of the UN. Why don't we use the power of technology? You know what Facebook is, right? You know what Instagram is, right? You know what Twitter is, right? I was offended the other day, quite frankly, when I saw someone that we are paying to represent us in Washington, D.C. We, the people, we pay Congress, we pay the president, we pay our elected officials to represent us. And I saw a representative say, we are not going to pass immigration bill. And what did we do? We accepted. a representative said, we are not going to pass the DREAM Act. And what did we do? We accepted it. Our representative said, we're going to continue to deport 1,200 children and families every single day. We are deporting. And what did we say? Educators, just don't come to another conference, feel good, hear a lot of speakers. You're going to have over 300 presentations. You're going to have hands-on. You're going to see sponsors. You're going to see exhibitors. Please visit our exhibitors across the hall. CABE and NABE are together, a wonderful pre-conference seminar yesterday. Give yourselves a big hand. Those of you that were able to attend that amazing pre-conference yesterday on dual language by CABE and NABE. Now, I say to you, please, take a note of 3 things while you're here at the conference over the next 2.5 days. Visit the beautiful, wonderful city of San Diego. I grew up right down the road at Camp Pendleton in Oceanside, so it's a marvelous place. I support that, Dr. Ward, my good superintendent colleague. But I say to you, take a note. Just write, what did I hear? What did I see? And how can I make a difference? Let us stop returning to our neighborhoods and our schools and feeling good, and then we forget it. Use Twitter, use YouTube, use Facebook, use all of our technology, and get our word. We are tired of it. Ya basta, no más. We have to be empowered. I leave you with one thought as we recognize our local committee, our NABE board of directors who makes this happen, our superintendents, our supporters, our sponsors, you, our teachers, our administrators, and most of all, our parents and our students. We thank you for being part of this 4 decades of NABE. And there are 3 thoughts that occurred. We started a new year, and we have to think about what happened in the past 40 years and quickly. We had our good friend yesterday made a comment, I thought it was a very profound comment, to the NABE board. Our good friend, Dr. Arturo Flores, the president of HACU, representing over 400 plus Hispanic leading universities. He said, if we want to make change, don't think of it as a sprint. Don't think of it of a marathon, but think of it as a relay. And NABE truly has been on this relay, this journey, 1 decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, now 4 decades. And think about what happened in the past 4 decades. Lau V. Nichols, you will hear about that at the luncheon. This is the 40th anniversary of Lau V. Nichols. That gave every child in America the right to equality, particularly those whose native language was other than English. We think about Pope Francis, the first Argentine South America Pope that was elected to the Vatican. We think about Nelson Mandela, a great leader who passed away, who found a way of unifying people. And most of all, we think about Cesar Chavez and his contribution. Y si se puede, NABE, CABE, and our 25 affiliates. And particularly, we are very sorry that we made a mistake with the Chicago group, AME. They're not in the program, but they're tough and a wonderful affiliate. And we will be in Las Vegas in 2015. We will be in Chicago in 2016. Dios les bendiga. Let's celebrate. Let's make it happen. It's my pleasure now to introduce an amazing board, 10 awesome individuals that represent the diversity of who we really are. That's led by Dr. Leo Gomez, a professor at UT Pan American, and an amazing board, a very diverse board, both culturally and linguistically. I'm glad I'm no longer a school superintendent after 24 years and having 3 or 4 meetings a month and struggling with the budget and fighting with everybody else and trying to unify people. But I have an amazing board, and they want to know, gee, you're not like a regular superintendent. Why are you always so happy? I only see them once a year, and they don't bother me, and I love them. So, Dr. Leo Gomez.
Buenos dias, good morning. Dr. Wood stole my opening monologue. No, I'm just joking. What an awesome individual, and he's so full of energy, and he's been a catalyst for NABE to strengthen the organization, move the organization forward with a lot of progressive thinking. I'm very excited that we're here, of course, in San Diego. I echo the words of Dr. Ward. This is an awesome city. The weather's beautiful. And for those of you that came from, not so good weather, welcome to some wonderful weather, and pray for your colleagues back home. We do have a wonderful, wonderful board. Before I introduce them, I want to talk about very quickly, what we hope this conference, what we're trying to do for this conference, what the theme and the focus of this conference, and it's on leadership. The focus of this conference is on being a leader. Every one of you here, teacher, principal, anybody, superintendents, you are leaders. You have the knowledge, you have the skills to make a difference at your respective school, district, community. Parents, take a leadership role. I think Dr. Wood said it very well. We are all advocates for children. In many cases, we are the only voice they have. And if we don't speak up, then these kids do not receive the education they deserve. So the focus of this conference is, let's really understand what it means when we say equality, enrichment, bilingual education. What do we mean when we say a dual language enrichment education? Let's really understand that and take this back. Take this back, and I see all of us here, we're all like foot soldiers. We're all out there to make a difference and to work through, navigate through the bureaucracies in our schools and systems. But in the end, it's not about us. It's about those children, and it's about their families. And we have to always keep that in mind, that it's about our kids. So we have to kind of navigate among the adults. So stay focused on these sessions, because that's what a lot of these sessions are about. It's about really taking charge of the education of our kids. We do have a tremendous board. We have a board that is very unique, very outspoken, and very progressive. And I'd like to introduce the board members, and I'd like to have them stand up as I do so. They're in no particular order. Well, yeah, they are. I'm going to do them in order then, I guess. Let me start with our Vice President, Dr. Julio Cruz. If you can stand up and stay standing up. Our NABE Treasurer, Dr. Jose Ruiz Escalante. Agustin Ruiz Escalante, if you will. Thank you, sir. If we can have our Secretary, Dr. Mariela Harold. I don't see you. There you go. Okay. Our other board members, Dr. Minan Hodge, right here. Dr. Josie Tinajero. Dr. Yi Wan. Mr. Eudes Budai from New York. And Ms. Maria Angelica Myers. I just call her Maria Angelica. Okay, Maria Angelica Myers. Thank you all from New York. Wonderful board, tremendous diversity, tremendous perspectives. All of these folks are involved at university level, public school level, and they are change agents in their respective institutions, and they bring a tremendous opportunity to our board. Oh, I'm sorry. Where is Margarita Pincos? Where are you? Margarita. See, that's what you get for not sitting with the board. Margarita, come on up. I'm sorry. From Florida. And I'd also like to have Dr. Arnilda Badia to come up. She is the NABE, if she's here, she is NABE's legislative advisor, liaison, that is keeping the board apprised of what's going on in D.C. and in other states. So here she comes, Dr. Badia. We would also like to recognize the folks that really are behind the scenes that makes all this happen and all this organization, which is amazing. I want to really recognize Nilda Aguirre. Is she in the audience? Nilda Aguirre? She is probably out there working with the registration. Our two staff members that work in the NABE office, Ms. Melissa Malakoff and Cassandra Lane. If you've met these folks, they are working in the office. They're the ones that kind of, they're the right-hand people, kind of make everything happen. NABE is very excited with this conference, and I think we're going to have a tremendous conference. But it also took a whole lot of people here in California that the local committee, and made up of predominantly California, but we have folks from across the country that made this happen. There were 58 members involved in putting together this conference. So I'd like to know if we have a lot of these members from the local committee in the audience, if you can stand up. Please stand up. If you're a part of any of the committees, thank you all so much for a wonderful job. We're hearing nothing but great things. And now I would like to recognize the two co-chairs that headed the local committee. I have to have Dr. Yi Wan to come up. We're going to have a tremendous conference. Yi.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce and sincerely thank two outstanding bilingual educators who have accepted my invitation to serve as the NABE 2014 conference co-chairs. Ms. Monica Nava, Senior Director of English Learner and Support Services at the San Diego County Office of Education, and Dr. Ana Hernandez, Assistant Professor at the School of Education in California State, San Marcos. In the past year, both co-chairs have worked tirelessly in leading the local planning committee to bring us this exceptional conference. So on behalf of the NABE board, you accepted a token of our appreciation and thanks. So now please come up to say a few words.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, San Diego County is very proud to host NABE 2014. Our beautiful county is home to over 110,000, yes, I said 1,000 English learners, over 70 dual language programs, and we have a great partnership with two universities who have online dual language program certificates right here in our local county. Let me repeat that part. Online dual language program certificates. Dr. Ana Hernandez leads one of those programs. And as chairs for NABE 2014, we're fortunate that we were able to work with many, many wonderful people. And what we found is that these people were very creative. You have to be creative as chairs. Count on those multiple resources you have at hand. These people were also very, very giving in many, many ways. And they are also very, very relentless, like many of you in the room, relentless in their support to education, in the support to children, and in their support to building multilingual leaders for our future. So at this time, we wish to thank everyone who worked with us, and they've been honored already when they stood, but I'd like to give them another applause. So please, can you help me thank our local chairs? And we wish to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Enjoy your NABE 2014 experience.
Thank you. Great, thank you. So now, on behalf of the NABE board, it is my pleasure to thank 5 distinguished leaders who have served as honorary conference chairs and who have provided valuable resources and staff time to make NABE 2014 a success. Each one of them recognizes the importance of valuing and building upon the cultural and linguistic assets of our students. Now, I would like to introduce them to you and invite them to come up to the front to be recognized. Dr. Randy Ward, San Diego County Superintendent of Schools, please come up. Ms. Cindy Martin, Superintendent of San Diego Unified School District. Dr. Xavier De La Torre, Santa Clara County Superintendent of Schools. Dr. Elliot Hirschman, President of San Diego State University. And finally, we have Dr. Karen Haynes, President of California State University, San Marcos, who is not able to join us today. So now, please join me in warmly thanking these honorary chairs for their valuable contributions to NABE 2014.
And now to present the NABE Ramon Santiago Award, our NABE Executive Board members, Dr. Jose Ruiz Escalante and Dr. Mariela Espinosa Harold.
Good morning. Buenos dias, everybody. I'm going to take only 1 minute because the person I'm going to be presenting this award needs no introduction. He's an icon for NABE. He's an icon for quality education for Latinos, Hispanic Americans, and bicultural children in general. Dr. Jean Garcia, I heard about him from people, from colleagues, from supervisors, from my bosses, more than meeting him and working with him. When I first came to this country 32 years ago as an immigrant from Peru and as a teacher, my principal gave me a class of Mexican children, and I didn't know how to teach them well. So he said, this is a book I just finished reading. It's an encyclopedia, and it's written by Dr. Jean Garcia. You read it, and you'll learn everything you need to know about providing exceptional education for children. And later, I went to pursue other degrees, and in my research, his name was always there in educational psychology, in leadership, in early childhood education. If I can think about 2 words that describe Dr. Garcia, is productivity and commitment. He exemplifies these 2 words. As an advisor for presidents of the United States on educating Hispanic Americans, as a vice president of Research One institutions, as dean of colleges of education, his commitment to sharing his knowledge with us through his books, really, it's beyond words. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jean Garcia.
Muchísimas gracias. It is a pleasure and, of course, an honor to be recognized by this august association and to receive at this time the Ramon Santiago Award. I knew Ramon Santiago. I knew Dr. Santiago. I knew him personally as a friend, I knew him intellectually as a colleague, and I knew him as a leader of NABE. He marshaled NABE during its adolescence or maybe early adulthood. I'm a developmental psychologist, so I see everything in that way. There's a time when we weren't sure what we were always doing, but we knew we had the right idea, that bilingualism and connecting kids with who they are and where they ought to be was important. He brought together these notions of what we know and what we should do to his own work in the New York City area. He brought it to NABE as a leader. He brought it to policy in the United States as a leader. And he also brought it as an advocate. Don't you ever tell that well-demeanored individual that bilingual students couldn't learn 2 languages, that bilingual students couldn't learn math and read like any other child in this country or elsewhere. Don't you dare. Because that mild-mannered, respectful individual would be in your face right away. That was Ramon Santiago in entirety. Therefore, with todo respeto, with grand humility, I accept this award y muchas gracias a Ramon Santiago, and hope we all can follow in his footsteps. Adiós.
I guess Mariela stole my words, but there are no words to describe Dr. Garcia. But it's one thing that I know Dr. Gomez is very grateful for Dr. Garcia. Is under his leadership in OELA, or it used to be OBREMA back then, that dual language education receive a lot of funding, and a lot of the programs that are still existing nowadays are thanks to Dr. Garcia. I have known Dr. Garcia for over 30 years, but the picture that I have of him is dancing with his wife and all the NABE conference. Así que welcome back and congratulations, Dr. Garcia.
And now to introduce our keynote speaker, please welcome once again Cindy Martin, Superintendent of San Diego City Schools.
Good morning. It's my honor this morning to introduce an author, because I had many of her books in my classroom when I was a teacher for 17 years before going into administration. Children's books were all over my classroom because we know you learn language by using language and being immersed in language. And our keynote speaker this morning was able to contribute to our classroom library with her beautiful books that surrounded the children when I taught 3rd grade and kindergarten most recently. So we're very proud to be able to introduce her. As a superintendent of San Diego Unified School District with 14,000 employees and over 130,000 students, the 2nd largest district in the state of California, I want to make sure we welcome you to San Diego, our warm weather, and talk about our district's mission and vision and commitment. We have a continued commitment in San Diego Unified in our efforts to support our English learners and our language programs. Our district values biliteracy, not just in words and actions, but our policies support what we believe and know in our heart works for our students. We have our language learning policy that was adopted in 2009. Welcome you to go to our website to look at it. We're happy to share the resources that we've put together as a large urban district. And our seal of biliteracy we're also very proud of. We're happy to share in this work and to welcome you to our city. As I introduce Dr. Alma Flor Ada, she's a professor emerita at the University of San Francisco and has devoted her life to advocacy for peace by promoting a pedagogy oriented to personal realization and social justice. She's a former Radcliffe Scholar at Harvard University and a Fulbright Research Scholar. She's an internationally known speaker and author of many children's books, including poetry, narrative, folklore, nonfiction. She's been awarded the Hispanic Issues Award from the American Education Research Association, the California Association for Bilingual Educator Lifelong Award, and the American Association of Hispanics in Higher Education Literacy Award, not to mention her prestigious Virginia Hamilton Literary Award. Please help me welcome Dr. Alma Florada. I feel like I'm meeting a movie star because her books are so wonderful. We love your books. Your children love your books so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And good morning, and welcome to this wonderful NABE once more. There's a popular saying that affirms that the two most important days in your life, in one's life, are the one in which you were born and the day in which you discover why. That is to say, what is the purpose of the life you receive? In what way will the world be a better place because you lived in it? How will others have benefited from your existence? I like to think that for all of us here, one of the most important days in our life was when we decided to become educators, and the other when we discovered or rediscovered why. And I do place emphasis on rediscovery because a very common experience is that we become educators with the noblest of goals. No one does it for the money, I'm sure. No one does it for the prestige. Our society has not learned to give us the prestige educators deserve. We become educators because of dreams, ideals, visions within us. But then bureaucracy and decisions made by people outside the classroom, outside of education, many times erode those goals as our work becomes constrained, deprived of its essence, and farther from the reasons we chose this profession in the first place. Life is inevitable, very brief. Take it from me, I know how close I am to its end. And there is no way to rewind it and live it again. And while most of you still have the majority of your life ahead of you, I feel the need to call your attention to the value of each year, of how rapidly they go, and the significance of reaching the end of your life feeling at peace with how you spend your days, where you place your energy, what you decided to struggle for, the decisions you were willing to make, the courage with which you were willing to defend your convictions, the risks you're willing to take each day to do the best for the students that depend on you. The technological and scientific advances of this last century have fostered the belief that there are formulas and solutions to all circumstances. We refuse to accept barriers to our exploration of a space, nor limits to the speed we expect our trains, our cars, our internet search engines to achieve. We continue to search for energy sources and for a cure for cancer, and all of these are valuable endeavors. Unfortunately, in our field of education, we're led astray when we believe that there is a method, a technique, a set of standards, or a battery of tests that will be the answer to all our students' needs. I'm glad you all know what I'm saying. There is a monster in our midst. And if we don't name the monster, if we don't address its effects, we will not be able to overcome it. And the monster is inequality. And we must name it and analyze its effects and what happens in schools. We cannot use poverty or unjust social realities as an excuse for our students not succeeding. We need to find ways to help them graduate from high school instead of increasing the outrageous numbers of people in prisons in this nation. At the same time, we cannot ignore the effects of poverty and inequality on our students, nor our own responsibility to work towards eliminating these injustices from our society. Yes, there are few heroic families that find in themselves enough strength to overcome all the devastating consequences of poverty and inequality. But although we can celebrate heroes, we can expect everyone to be able to do the same. Poverty often looks like parents who work 2 jobs or odd hours and are just not there, or are too exhausted to engage their children in meaningful conversations, that predictor for school success. Poverty means that children don't get enough to eat or eat only unhealthy food. And often it means that children are exposed to the traumatic effects of violence in our neighborhoods. Half a century ago, more than 200,000 women, men, and children joined the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, an event that has now become part of our history, just as Martin Luther King, the man who inspired and led the march, is now celebrated in our schools. While we have indeed obtained considerable gain in legislation that supports civil rights, the lack of jobs with adequate pay continues to haunt our society. And inequality, which the march hoped to eliminate, has grown rather than diminished. Many of our nation leaders dare not pronounce the I word, the inequality word, or else are trying to subvert its meaning. But the truth is that of the new wealth produced in this nation between 2009 and 2012, 95% went to the top 1% of the population. These are the kind of situations that Santiago Wood was telling us earlier. We cannot just sit back and contemplate and do nothing about it. As wages continue to fall in real value, today 40% of American families identify their life standard as low middle class or lower. And the United States is rapidly losing the 2 assets that offer some hope that we might eventually build that truly democratic society we want to believe we lived in. A strong middle class and a strong public education for all. In the last numbers from the National Center of Educational Statistics from 2010 to 2011, the number of public schools diminished as the number of charter and private schools increases. And we know that this trend is continuing, and you have the numbers in front of you. One aspect of justice that the March on Washington was meant to achieve was the end of school desegregation. But the present-day closing of public schools and the increased number of charter and private schools represent a different form of segregation, because the amount of funds and support that goes to school serving the children who are living in poverty, the children who most need and deserve those funds, depends on these numbers. Now, while we need to be concerned on how to change the social conditions that affect us and our students, we also must focus on what happens daily in our classrooms. I will later return to focus on exploring the connections between social reality and the work we do as educators. But for a moment, let's think about the classrooms. Classrooms have the potential to be protected spaces for children. Within that space, teachers are the responsible adult, the ones in charge. In spite of the constraints that may be pressing in from outside the classroom, we as teachers still have a valuable degree of freedom and power. There is creative power in everything a teacher does. The image we project, the message that is contained in our tone of voice, the way we look into students' eyes, The comments we make, the comments we avoid, the questions we ask, the reflections we invite. As teachers, we influence our classroom climate each day. When we're able to walk into the classroom projecting enthusiasm and alertness, serenity, assurance, we offer the possibility of connection and success. There is power in a teacher's voice. The way in which we simply pronounce a student's name can convey a message of care, of appreciation, of joy, of possible expectations. Or it can also convey a message of impatience, of boredom, of annoyance, or of indifference. There is power in how we as teachers organize the day. We can choose to take a few minutes at the beginning of the class, at any age or grade level. Believe me, I did this in my doctoral classes too, with a gift to the students, a poem, a song, a saying, the sharing of a personal anecdote, a moment of reflection. It is in our power to do this as teachers, and it conveys the message that true learning is taking place. No matter how full our schedules may be, these few minutes can help us connect with our students and focus our intentions for the rest of the day. It is also in our power as teachers to ensure that the questions we ask are thought-provoking, that we are encouraging dialogue, that we are recognizing students' lives and experience as valuable sources, as funds of knowledge. As teachers, we can choose to present information as content to be learned, or we can choose to construct knowledge together with our students, a knowledge that will include the information we want to convey, but will not end there, because it is enriched through dialogue. Dialogue where students compare and contrast this new knowledge being presented with their own previous experience, where we encourage students to reflect upon the meaning of what they're learning, to explore and understand conflicts and its roots, to discover that there are always alternatives, to realize that learning can be empowering, both in the present moment and in the future, that learning should help us become better human beings, more able, more capable, stronger, more truthful. None of this is outside our possibilities as teachers. It does take some time and effort to awaken students' abilities to reflect. But once they are engaged in the process, they will continue to do this spontaneously whenever new content is presented. And we hope that this means that they will continue to do this for the rest of their lives. As Yeats poetically suggested when he wrote, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." One of the great disservices in education today consists of curriculum and educational plans and materials that are written as if all the weeks of the year were equal. They are not. Time must be allotted at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of different processes, for students to develop certain skills and habits that will become easier with time. Time is always such a problem when we talk about education. I don't have time to do this. Well, time well invested at the beginning of a process will mean later accelerated results. But of course, for this to happen, our goals need to be clear. If our goal is not to give the students cut flowers, but instead to teach them how to grow their own plants, as John Gardner reminded us, we may need to reconsider how much transmission of information without the corresponding critical analysis we still allow in our classrooms. I am not recommending that we stop providing factual information. What I am recommending is that we focus on how to use information to generate true learning. To light the fire, to contribute to our shared human future, our goals as educators must include the education of the whole human being. As Maria Montessori reminded us with her characteristic clarity, her words from over half a century ago continue to be relevant today. If education is always to be conceived along the same antiquated lines of a mere transmission of knowledge, there is little to be hoped from it in the bettering of humanity's future. For what is the use of transmitting knowledge if the individual's total development lags behind? This development of the whole human being includes not only helping students construct meaning by connecting new knowledge to what they already know, not encouraging the practice of critical reflection, as powerful and necessary as those objectives are. It also must include the universal values that are so frequently neglected, as the Dalai Lama laments when he says, "I have always had this view about the modern education system. We pay attention to brain development, but the development of warm-heartedness we take for granted." Or in Cesar Chavez's words, when he says real education should consist of drawing the goodness and the best out of our own students. What better books can there be than the book of humanity? There are some people who, like Oscar Wilde, may believe that nothing that is essential can be taught. Yet, as the saying goes, attitudes are caught, not taught. It's worth remembering that our personal example influences those around us all the time. And I dare say that personal example, when authentic, is the most powerful of all pedagogies. Good teachers can be very successful at helping students learn, particularly when they're willing to learn alongside their students. Yet all of us, whether we want it or not, whether we are aware of it or not, are always teaching something. And what we're teaching is who we are, how we behave, what principles we practice. So if we truly believe that we would like our students to be lifelong learners, phrase we repeat constantly, it is essential that we continue our own learning and that we share with our students our own learning process, including what we're learning about them, from them, and with them. Sharing with our students what we're learning, not only about the content we are presenting, but also about the teaching-learning process itself, models those metacognitive skills that are often included as a learning objective, yet are seldom truly taught. If we would like to see our students become engaged readers, it will be helpful to share with them the excitement that books bring into our own lives. It only takes one sentence to convey that we're intrigued, fascinated, surprised, or even troubled by something we're reading. Yet if this sharing is frequent and authentic, it will convey a living message of how reading for pleasure can be an important part of people's lives. If we believe in the power of language, in the value of bilingualism, we can find ways to continually enrich our own knowledge of the language or languages we speak. And when we share the discovery of nuances we had previously ignored, we can proudly use our minority language in contexts where students can see us using these languages, then we're also encouraging students to use them and to grow in their knowledge of them. If we recognize the connection between language and culture, we can make sure to continue learning about the home cultures of our students, and we can let them know about our own learning process and the value we find in it. When we can acknowledge to our students how much we do not know, and for me, it was the moment I truly began this process of trying to learn to be a teacher, when I was able to look into the eyes of my students and say, I do not know this, and I have been misleading you on making you believe that I know more than I do. But I'm willing to learn and I want to learn with you. When we can say that to our students, when we can allow them to witness our process of seeking to learn more, they will understand how enriching and liberating lifelong learning can be. We should never be ashamed of what we do not know, but we should always be willing to learn. Yet, yes, students can benefit from the shelter their classrooms provide, but our classrooms cannot be isolated. Students live in the world outside the classroom, and that world has effects on them. What they receive from that protected environment of our classrooms need to then be transformed into strength, courage, determination, confidence, and skills that will allow them to navigate the difficulties of their world. Henry Giroux has pointed out how schools manage to transform a social problem into an individual one. The social conditions of poverty and their constricting effects on young people's possibilities for success are ignored and remain unchecked, as we instead focus on assigning measures of success or failure to individual students, attempting to quantify intelligence, curiosity, creativity, and the spirit of learning, all of that which cannot be reduced to numbers. Students, their family structures, the social conditions that surround them are not equal, yet standardized testing attempts to compare test results as if these conditions were non-existent and did not impact learning. This absurdity becomes extreme when children are tested in languages they're still developing, as when children whose primary language is Spanish and who have not yet developed a level of academic English that would put them on an equal basis with their English-speaking peers are tested in English rather than in Spanish, and I would say adding insult to injury. So the challenges we face are great. Every year, NAVE offers us the opportunity to recognize those whose life and work provides examples of what can be achieved. Students who write meaningfully about the value of being bilingual. Teachers in whose classes students thrive. Researchers like Jean Garcia, who was just honored a moment ago, whose work gives support to our practices. Individuals whose significant contributions we celebrate, as we're celebrating in this conference, Lori Olsen and Arnilda Badia. I'm deeply grateful for all their valuable contributions to our field, and would like to share with you, and will do so in a minute, a particular example that has been inspiring to me and that I believe will be useful to you. If the work we do within our classrooms is going to have any measure of effectiveness, we cannot ignore the world outside the school. And social issues cannot be presented only as issues in the past. We cannot celebrate the March on Washington while ignoring the inequality that exists today. We cannot celebrate Martin Luther King or Cesar Chavez while ignoring the fact that the goals they gave their lives to are far from being reached today. I know that this may sound like a tall order. Engaging in the work of social change is not something we can do on our own, and I encourage you to find among your colleagues those who will join you in solidarity. I also want to offer a resource and a sort of support for bringing more dialogue on social issues into your classroom. One of the most inspiring examples I have seen in education as a tool for social change was witnessing the birth of Rethinking Schools. In 1986, while attending a teachers' union conference in Milwaukee, someone offered me a copy of this newspaper, the first issue. When I read the powerful content, I immediately wanted to know how this humble publication had come about. And I learned that a very small group of bilingual teachers had decided to use their own savings to pay for this publication. They simply told me, we're tired of saying things are not going right. Now we're going to do something about it. And as Bob Peterson explained to me, newspapers had been very important in the workers' movement at the end of the 19th century, and they wanted to emulate these efforts. And so this group was willing to publish this newspaper until their funds, their own savings, ran out. They were unwilling to include any commercial ads that could constrain their freedom of thought and expression. It was a vivid example that we can do more than complain about what is wrong with education, that we can take action, that yes, sí se puede. I was not the only one to be impressed by Rethinking Schools, which continues to be published now, 28 years later, as a magazine in print and online, with 7,000 subscribers in all 50 states and 10 Canadian provinces. In 1991, they published their first book, Rethinking Columbus, which has now sold over 300,000 copies. I got this information from them because I wanted to share it with you. Now there are 20 books in print, and all with the same strong focus on social justice and multicultural education. The strength of all Rethinking Schools publication is their authenticity, the value of the content offered, and the fact that all their authors are or have been in the classroom, know firsthand the requirements and burdens that are placed on teachers, and can offer alternative teaching suggestions that are both effective and meaningful. To me, they are a constant source of both inspiration and hope, and I share this with you because I trust they can serve as valuable allies and resources for you. And now, my last very personal message. Thanks to internet, many of us are reviving long-lost connections. For me, it has meant that a number of former students who were all high school age when I taught in a trilingual school in Peru in the 1960s are now contacting me. They have followed many different professions and are living today in various parts of the world, one of them right here in San Diego. Yet there is a common thread in their messages. The word respect appears repeatedly in their comments, and they tell me how the respect they receive in the classroom conveyed a powerful message of worth, of trust in their abilities, of encouragement to trust themselves. Some of their statements are highly personal and moving, recalling specific instances that have faded into my own memory, yet they remain very clear in theirs, moments to which they attribute much of their conduct and success as adults. Yet what has impacted me the most is how several of these former students have communicated in different words, but with similar conviction, how important it has been to them to see that I have continued to practice what I taught them over 4 decades ago, that I have continued being faithful to Paulo Freire's message, which inspired some of our classroom projects in one of Lima's barriadas or shantytowns, that the idealism I shared with them then was rooted in true convictions that I have continued to live by. I had not expected that they would write this, that they would say, we have been watching you, and it's important for us to know that what you taught us were not just words, that they're a way of living that you truly have embraced. I wish this gift for every one of you, that in 40 years, those students you're teaching today, or the individuals whose lives you're touching in any way, will let you know how much you have enriched their lives, how they are in turn working to contribute to the lives of others because of what you inspire in them, and that they will share their joy at seeing how you have continued to grow and deepen on this journey. It is a short life, yet it can be a rich one if we treasure each of our days. It is a hard and demanding profession, yet it can offer us the utmost satisfaction. It's challenging to muster the courage to take a stand for our principles, Yet, if not us, who then? Who will help create a more just and equal world? Who will help create the lasting peace that can only come from social justice and equality? My deep gratitude to each of you for all you do to enrich the lives of your students with your words and your examples, for the hope you give their parents that indeed their children will be able to succeed. Thank for all your contributions on behalf of social justice. Thanks for being who each of you is. You are the heroes.
Thank you, Dr. Florada, for that inspiring message. And now I'd like to introduce the Honorable Remedios Gomez Arnau, Consul General, San Diego, who will be presenting the Otley nominees and award winner.
Señor Cónsul General, con su permiso, I'd like to beg off for just a second. I begged the board and pleaded with the board that I would give up a year of salary if they would permit me to do this honor. I need you to know that everything that I am was because this amazing person stepped into my life a few years ago and said to me, Santiago, you deserve to apply for a Title VII fellowship. I want you to do some great work in bilingual education. And to fast forward, I ended up being in her class under her tutelage as my chair of my dissertation committee. She is an amazing, dynamic person. I love her.
May all you be blessed with students like Santiago.
And on behalf of the NABE Board of Directors, we present to Dr. Alma Flor Ada the Lifelong NABE Award, and it says to Dr. Alma Flor Ada, NABE Keynote Speaker, University of San Francisco, NABE 43rd Annual Conference. Muy merecido. Te honro, doctora Ana. Gracias.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos días a todos. Well, after those moving words by Dr. Ada, it is my pleasure today, on behalf of the Mexican government, to present the prestigious Mexican Otley Award. Every year, the Mexican government presents this Otley Award during your annual conference after the National Association of Bilingual Education presents 3 nominees. Otley, it's a Nahuatl word that means path, and the award is composed of a medal, a silver plaque, and a certificate of recognition. The Otley Award is presented by the Mexican government to the people that have helped to better the lives of the Mexicans living abroad. This year, NABE presented 3 nominees for the Otley Award. They are Cruz Reynoso, Professor of Law Emeritus, UC Davis School of Law, and former Otley recipient. Dr. Alma Flor Ada, Professor Emerita, University of San Francisco, and Dr. Josie Tinajero, Dean, College of Education, University of Texas, El Paso, Texas. The Mexican government considered all the merits. The 3 nominees have many merits, and after a deep consideration, decided to bestow with the Otley Award to Dr. Alma Flor Ada. The Mexican government took into consideration that she has numerous and outstanding contributions towards public policy, education, the rights of immigrants' children, and the promotion of multicultural understanding. She has worked incessantly for the establishment of bilingual education as an essential condition for language minority students to access quality education. The Mexican government also acknowledged that she has participated in multiple task forces to promote the passing of bilingual education state laws, that she co-founded the Michigan Bilingual Education Association, that she has called to action on how underserved the children of Mexican farm workers have been, that she also founded and was the first editor-in-chief of the Journal of the National Association for Bilingual Education, currently the Bilingual Research Journal, that she has insisted on the importance of the homeschool interaction in the education of Latino children, that she has established the first bilingual teacher education program in the state of Michigan, that at the University of San Francisco, Dr. Ada became the director of doctoral studies of the International Multicultural Education Program, that her work has had a multiplying effect since many of her advisees have moved on to important leadership positions in bilingual education and teacher education throughout the United States, that she established a methodological approach that has been extensively adopted in the teaching of reading and is recognized and promoted by highly respected educators, that she has recognized the importance of materials that reflected the culture, language, and heritage of students, that she was a consultant and writer for the Spanish Curriculum Development Center at a time when private publishers were yet to begin to publish educational materials in Spanish, that she has been a senior author of multiple Spanish reading series from kinder to 6th grade and an author in several English reading programs, that she has contributed significantly to the realm of multicultural literature, promoting social justice, equality, inclusion, and peace, that she has received numerous awards, among them Christopher Award, the Notable Book in Social Sciences, the Once Upon a World Award, the Notable Book in Social Studies, the Children's Book Council Notable Book, the Distinguished Professor Award, the American Education Research Association Hispanic Issues Award, the California Association for Bilingual Education Lifelong Award, the California Council for Higher Education 2011 Award, and the 2012 Literary Award of the American Association of Hispanics in Higher Education, for all of her outstanding contributions to public policy, education, the rights of immigrant children, and the promotion of multicultural understanding. Dr. Alma Flor Ada is today being bestowed with the Otley Award. In Spanish, reconocimiento Otley. Reconocimiento Otley. La Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores, a través del Instituto de los Mexicanos en el Exterior, tiene el honor de otorgar el presente diploma a la doctora Alma Flor Ada por su distinguida labor al servicio de los intereses de la comunidad mexicana y de origen mexicano residente en Estados Unidos.
Maybe the one thing they forgot to say was that I have lived a long life. My profound gratitude to the Mexican government for this honor, and particularly for what this award represents. This award represents the commitment of the Mexican government to the Mexican communities abroad. The steps of my journey would not have been possible without those of many others. In the first place, I want to recognize my 4 children who have been a constant support since they were very young in many more ways that I could possibly mention here. It is a joy that 2 of them are present today. My daughter Rosalma came from Massachusetts with her husband, Bruce Nayowith. Rosalma's translation and her very intelligent editing has given a lot of strength to my voice. And my son Gabriel from Santa Clara has recently co-authored with me 2 middle grade novels, Dancing Home and Love Amalia. He should be someplace. During the last 20 years, Isabel Campoy and I have co-authored many books and have worked together as teachers around the world, presenting authors in the classroom, a process of transformative education which promotes recognizing that each of us is the protagonist of our own life and should also be the author of our own written history. That work belongs as much to Isabel as it belongs to me. My students have always been my best teachers, as they allow me to learn along with them. Many of them are here today, including very dear Santiago Wood, who has challenged us so strongly this morning. I received this honor in the name of the teachers, the students and families who, in spite of great obstacles, are determined to create a better future. To them, my admiration.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see all of you here. A mi amiga y colega, mentora, la doctora Alma Florada, congratulations, Alma. Isn't she amazing? I think she deserves another round of applause. I had the great privilege a number of years ago to co-edit a book with my colleague, Alma Florada, The Power of Two Languages, that was published by Macmillan McGraw-Hill Publishing Company. A number of her doctoral students published in that issue, and it's still a classic. You need to look it up if you can find it. She always has this tremendous message, this powerful message that reflects her devotion to promoting a pedagogy oriented to personal realization and social justice, just as the person who introduced her said. We thank you for your contributions to bilingual education and to everything else, for all that you have done for our children and our families. Muchas gracias, Alma. Te llamo.